Hi everyone, it's Sandy Kiaizadeh here at Mindful Solutions Clinic at the Carrot Common at 320 Danforth. And I wanted to talk to you today about ways to self-care for ourselves. I don't know about you, but the news, there's a lot of yucky news out there right now, and it can be really hard for those of us who are really sensitive. I'm a highly sensitive person. I'm an empath, and reading the news and everything, and when I'm talking about world news and everything that's going on, it really can take a toll on me. And I'm also a therapist, and so the bulk of my days and evenings is spent in service to others, and it's a really rewarding career, and I love it. But it's all the more important for me and for all of us, really, to make sure that in order to sort of to be of service to others and to help people the way we want to help people, and to live a happy life, it's important to self-care. And so that's what today's topic of this vlog is about. I'm still getting used to the term vlog, video blog. Anyway, so here we are today. And so in terms of self-care, when I talk about self-care, I'm talking about things like, tending to your emotional, your mental, your physical, your sensory, your social, your spiritual needs, all of the above. And so there are different ideas that you can implement. Some of them are easier than others. But it really is important to make sure that you're putting that oxygen mask on yourself every day, and that you're taking some time every day to self-care. And the very first thing, I'm looking at my list, I've got about 16 items here, suggestions here. The very first thing on the list is avoiding toxic people in your social circle, right? The metaphor that I use often with my clients is to sort of envision that your social circle is like your garden. And you want a beautiful garden, right? Like you want a beautiful garden. You want to enjoy the scenery of this beautiful garden. You want to tend to this beautiful garden too. But how does a beautiful garden happen, right? Like there's weeding that's involved with this beautiful garden. So you need to sort of weed out some of the weeds that you don't want in this garden to make room for flowers or plants that you actually do want in your garden. And, when you're sort of figuring out or planning your garden, your social circle garden, mindfully think about, what kind of seeds do you want to be planting in your garden? What plants or weeds or flowers are no longer serving you in the way that you want? And I got to tell you, toxic people, and when I talk about toxic people, I'm talking about either folks who are just always negative, folks who aren't lifting you up, or are constantly criticizing you, or are making you doubt yourself, and they're eroding your own self-confidence. These are all things like if you're feeling these feelings, listen to your gut. Again, that's something that I tell my clients all the time. Listen to your gut. Your gut is always right. And your gut is probably telling you in situations like that that the person that you're interacting with in that moment may be a toxic person. So I would listen to that, pay attention to that, and pay attention to the garden that you're planting in your life. And, do some of the plants need to be weeded out? And what would you like to plant instead? And so mindfully sort of start thinking about what kind of seeds you want to be planting and nourishing with water and tending to. So that's the very first thing. The second self-care idea is also giving yourself permission to say no, right? It's not selfish to say no to things. So many of us, especially I find this a lot with women, with my women clients, is that we, for a lot of us anyway, have difficulty saying no to people or saying no to things, and so we're saying yes, yes, yes to everything, and it's draining us. So it is important to just sort of step back for a moment, take a breather, again, reflect back on what's on your plate, and sort of mindfully ask yourself, what have I been saying yes to when I really wanted to be saying no to? And if I have been saying yes, yes, yes to all of these things, like what's that about? Like what's the underlying, what is that about? So that's self-care tip number 2, is sort of giving yourself permission to say no and to understand that it's actually not selfish of us to put that oxygen mask on yourself and to say no in the process. Number 3, watch your inner monologue for language like, I should be doing this, I should have done that, I could have done this, I could have done that. I got to tell you, like, one of the first things I spot with my clients is so many of us are just shooting ourselves to death, and that's exhausting. That's really exhausting. So, I'd say for the next, day or week, see if you can sort of tune into that inner monologue that we all have. We all have that inside voice. Tune into your inner monologue and see if you can sort of spot how many times you're shooting yourself. I should be doing this. I should have done that. I could be doing this. I could have done that. Because it can be exhausting. Let's move on to number 5. Number 5 is something that I practice myself, especially in this last little while with everything that's been going on in world news, is limiting your social media time and instead also sort of interacting with people in real life, right? Social media is okay. It's it is one way to connect with people, but also make sure that you're actually making time to nurture in real life relationships. And I'm going to tie that as well with news. And so that's something that I just posted about. I think it was yesterday on my Instagram and on my Facebook Mindful Solutions pages on social media, is with the constant news cycle that's always going on. A lot of the news is also on our social media feeds. And there's a lot of negativity out there with the news cycle. And so I'm not saying, black it out completely, because that's not realistic. I mean, we live in a world, we want to know about what's going on in the rest of the world. But certainly see if you can put a time limit on yourself to just, again, it's about putting the oxygen mask on yourself. So for instance, with me, I've sort of implemented a 30-minute a day period of time where I allowed myself to read the news or to talk about the news or to, see it on my social media feed. After that, I cut it out because I notice for me, it does impact my mood negatively. And it's a lot of it is repetitive information anyway. Like they call it breaking news, but it tends to be, repetitive. So see if you can snip that out as well. And I lump that in with social media just because I get a lot of my news through my social media pages, just because I subscribe, I follow certain news outlets. So that's what I've been doing pretty much since January. I've sort of toned down social media use, and it has been helping a lot. Let's go with number 6. Do something soul nourishing every day. So let's talk about, what is soul like what does that look like? It doesn't have to be something extravagant. It could be going for a walk outside. It could be, turning your face up at the sun if you're a sun worshiper. It could be taking a bubble bath. It could be playing with a puppy. It could be drawing or painting or reading or doing a yoga vinyasa or meditating. It doesn't have to cost money. I mean, certainly there are things like if it brings you joy, or if you find it soul nourishing to get a mani-pedi, go get a mani-pedi. But just know that there are things that that you can do every day that bring you joy. I like to take bubble baths. Sitting in salt water in my bathtub for 20 minutes at the end of the night is a wonderful relaxation thing that I like to do for myself. That is something that actually replenishes my energy, and so I try to do that for myself as much as I can. So find what works for you. Again, about putting the oxygen mask on yourself. Let's see, we're 10 minutes in. Maybe what I should do is let's talk about the gratitude journal. So I'm a fan of gratitude, and sort of having that attitude of gratitude. So some people are journalers, and if you're a journaler, certainly keep journaling. Have a gratitude journal that's specific for that. I often, tell some of my clients who aren't journalers, we carry these little guys everywhere we go. Use the Notes app on there at the end of every day, and see if you can log maybe the 3 things that you were grateful for that day. And if you can't find 3 things, at least just find 1 at the end of every day. And again, it could be something as simple as, wow, my morning cup of coffee was really delicious. Or I was really grateful that the TTC had no delays this morning. Or it was a bright sunny day and I was able to go down to the beach and listen to the sound of the waves. That's something that, again, that brings me joy. So it is important to reflect at the end of every day. And you can combine some of these. Like, for instance, with the previous one where I said find something that's soul nourishing for you. If I'm, in my bathtub in a saltwater bath, I will combine that with meditation. I'll combine that with, gratitude. I'll combine that with, listening to pleasant music. So a lot of these things you can combine for yourselves to help yourselves as part of your self-care routine. The other thing, the last thing, let's make this the last thing, is getting out in nature as much as you can. Especially, we're in summertime now. It's beautiful outside. Some of us like heat more than others. I like the heat. I'm not a fan of winter. But certainly getting out in nature, making sure you're getting your vitamin D directly from the sun, so spending at least 10 to 20 minutes every day outside. If you can try to get your exercise outside, making sure you're walking to where you need to go, maybe parking farther away from the front door, to make sure that you're getting some steps in the outdoors. There's a lot of research out there that actually talks about the benefits of spending time in nature. The Japanese even have a word for it called Shinrin-yoku, which means forest bathing. So I don't know we live in Toronto. If you haven't gone for walks in our nature trails, we've got so many beautiful trails in Toronto. We've got, the beach. There's lots of opportunity. We have great parks, whether it's Hyde Park or really, any of the nature trails. See if you can get out there and actually spend some time in nature, grounding yourself with the earth and the sky and the sun and the water and the air, listening mindfully to the sounds that you're hearing out in nature, the wildlife. I love to, if I'm going for a mindful walk on a nature trail or by the beach, I love to just sort of give myself about 5 minutes to mindfully pay attention, to listen mindfully to the various sounds of all the birds that live in our city. And when I talk about mindfully listening, it's about sort of what voices do I like, the different bird sounds, the different bird voices. Where are these sounds coming from? Are they coming from this side? Are they coming from this side? Are they in front of me, behind me? sort of listening to the conversation within nature. That's an easy way to just ground myself in the now, to ground myself to nature and just the beauty of nature, which is so replenishing. And again, the research is out there that actually shows the benefits of spending time in nature. They call it earthing. So see if you can try to do that for yourself as part of your self-care routine, even if it's just 10 minutes a day. Okay? So these are some of the ideas that I have. I'd love to hear what ideas you have about self-care. As always, you're welcome to email me. And if you want to learn more about me or my services, please visit www.mindfulsolutionsclinic.com. Hope you're having a great day. Take care. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.